I know it can feel quite lonely and overwhelming if you're just starting out as a bookkeeper and you don't really know where to get your questions answered. So in this video, I have a bunch of ideas for where to get help as a bookkeeper. And they're all gonna have different pros and cons. In the first half of the video, I think I had all like the free ideas, and then there's some paid ones towards the end. So number one is find a peer mentor. I think this is gonna get you the most bang for your buck, really, but it's also gonna take a little work to find. So what I mean by a peer mentor, I see this as a person who's kind of at a similar stage as you or slightly ahead of you as a bookkeeper, and it's like a mutually beneficial relationship that you guys can kind of help each other and support each other. So it's gonna take some networking to find this person. So maybe you find them online, maybe you find them on a Facebook group, which is what I'm gonna talk about next, and you guys are interacting with like the same types of questions and you're kind of chatting back and forth online. Then reach out to that person in a private message and be like, hey, do you wanna meet on Zoom for like 30 minutes and just chat and maybe just like get to know each other a little better? So you might have to do that like 2 or 3 times before you find someone who's the right fit, but if you find the right person, it's totally worth it. My second idea, I already mentioned, it is Facebook groups, and there's also other online groups. I talk a ton about online groups and online networking in my new class, Bookkeeper Marketing Coach. If you want a little preview of that, you can check out my free masterclass on how I got my first 3 bookkeeping clients. That link is going to be in the description for you. That walks you through how to join the right groups. So if you just look on Facebook, you can Google like bookkeeper groups, and then you kind of need to figure out which ones are active. And then you can also join groups based on your bookkeeping niche. So if you are a bookkeeper for veterinarians, then you can probably find a group either on LinkedIn or Facebook for that particular niche. I've just found people to be really like kind and welcoming and helpful in those groups. You can ask like a really specific question about like, why isn't this account balancing, or like, I don't know, just like more specific questions. And usually people will try to help you out. Number 3 is self-research. So I truly believe that you can find the answer to almost any bookkeeper questions somewhere online. And yes, if you're doing it for free and you're doing it yourself, the DIY approach, it might take you time. When I was first starting out, I would just spend hours and hours researching like a certain question. And I do think this is like a key personality trait of someone that wants to be a bookkeeper. You have to have a little grit. You have to have kind of like that self-starter vibe. And if you run into a problem, you need to be able to be like, okay, I can figure this out. Like whatever problem I come across, I'm gonna be able to figure it out. If you don't know me, my name is Morgan. My website is FinePoints.biz, and I love helping bookkeepers get organized. If you take just a second and give this video a thumbs up, that really does help me out. And feel free to subscribe for a new bookkeeper video every week. So I use a lot of YouTube. When I first started, I watched tons of Nerd Enterprises, Seth David's channel. And then of course, Google, they also have QuickBooks forums that are helpful maybe like 50% of the time. But the more you do it, you're gonna become a better, more efficient researcher also. So you're gonna find your favorite resources, maybe bookmark those. You're gonna be better at putting in search terms. And so it does seem really overwhelming at first, but it gets better, I promise. Number 4 is the QuickBooks Helpline. So they have a number you can call, or you can do a chat with them about questions. And I have found them to be helpful a lot of the time, depending on the question. A few times they have had to tweak something on the back end. Usually that has to do with like merging different accounts and stuff like that. I have a video all about how to get better customer service from QuickBooks Online. And if you become a QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor, you do get like a special line to call. So that's a good tip. And a lot of times it kind of depends on who you get to talk to, like any customer service. So sometimes if the person I'm talking to is just not understanding, not getting what I'm asking, I'll just call back later and try to get someone else. Number 5 is to get hired somewhere. And I know that sounds like really, really hard, but there is something to be said for working in some kind of office setting and going to your cubicle neighbor for help and to get your questions answered. So one of my first clients, I actually made a video about it. It's called My Best Client. I got hired by them, and they did pay me a lower rate than I would have wanted or that I would ask for if I was working as a contract for myself. But the trade-off was that I learned a ton from that experience. So if you're starting out and you want some of that support, maybe like a low-level office job, like once a week, will be worth it to you. Another thing I've done that I'd recommend is work for an accountant. So if you can network with some accountants, maybe you can take on a couple projects for them. One accountant I worked with, he was really happy to have extra help around tax time, and he would basically give me all the junk work that he didn't want to do, which at the time I was like, yes, please. And I, again, learned so much from him. I sat in his office building a few times. He gave me a few little training sessions about things, and that was a good experience as well. Next one is use the QuickBooks Online Sample Company. That is a free resource within QuickBooks Online. You can just play around, mess everything up, and then it'll reset when you're done. I have a video all about that. It looks like this, so you can check that out. I won't bore you by going into all the details about the sample company. And then I also have hacks to gain experience, which is another video that you can look up, which is kind of along that line. It's like practicing more than really getting your questions answered by a person. Next idea is to buy a course. So in my description box, I have a link for Bookkeeper Launch. That is my 100% favorite class to recommend to bookkeepers when they're first starting out. It teaches you everything from A to Z. It teaches you marketing, it teaches you QuickBooks, it teaches you everything. It is an investment of time and money, but it is well worth it. And they have a lot of help resources for you. So you can email them specific questions about your clients, and they also have a forum where students can answer each other's questions. And that would also be a good place to get that peer mentor that I talked about, the very first one. If you connect with a couple people in there, you can use them as resources as well. And this is one of those instances, like I said, where you get what you pay for. So if you pay for a better class, you usually get more resources for longer periods of time. I took a couple community college classes, which were really helpful, and I was able to ask the professors questions. But then after the class was over, I did have to rely on my own researching skills. I have a couple classes. I have one about starting your bookkeeping business in 30 days, and then I have that one I talked about that helps you get clients. So in my classes, I have a help box. You can type questions to me and I'll answer them. And my next idea is pay for mentoring. So this is probably the most expensive option, but it'll also get you the most targeted, best results if there is an expert person that you're learning from and you're able to ask specific questions. So if you have a resource for a bookkeeper mentor that people can pay, let me know in the comments, or you can email me as well. We're kind of like trying to figure out, a lot of people would like me to do one-on-one mentoring, but that's not something I do right now. So if there's someone I can recommend, that would be great. I have paid for a couple sessions with someone on Seth David's team. If you go to the website Nerd Enterprises, I think I might have a link for his website down below too. I think they have like an hour consult and you have to pay for that. When I had like kind of a complex payroll issue I was working through, I have signed up for that service a couple times, which was helpful, just not the cheapest. I'll also leave linked my friend Margie's website. She has something I think called like QuickBooks Workout or QuickBooks Gym maybe, and I'm not sure what all it entails. I haven't actually been to it, but it's some like live session where you can get questions answered, I believe. And that is some kind of paid service, but I think it's fairly affordable. Let me know if you're interested in a dedicated video just on that.